use my, no, I use my work phone, I just, I tether, because this one drops out all the time.
Don't
Ready?
worry, you're still special.
Okay, welcome to the, what day is today?
The 7th.
Welcome to the June 7th, thank you very much, Amanda, to the June 7th Select Board meeting. Because of the COVID regulations and whatever, we have the option to do this remotely. I'm not going to get into the lingo behind it, but welcome, and we hope you are joining us remotely. And at this time, I'll take
A roll call vote of the select board members that are here.
I'll take a roll call vote.
One moment.
Mr. Calcutt's joining us remotely.
Yes, and he's saying there's no audio on Zoom.
There, I see his face. Hello, Kevin.
You are muted.
But it looks like NCTV is muted. Can I unmute you?
Rich, this must have been the same issue.
Yeah.
Not corrected yet.
It was working earlier.
Okay.
It's just that it when it came in.
I have a thing that's saying, join with computer audio, failed to detect your microphone.
It's telling me that I'm talking, so.
Usually, for me, that means there's a button on your keyboard that can turn off the microphone. Usually, that means I bumped that by accident, if it says that.
So Kevin and...
You are unmuted on NCTV now.
They're talking.
Kevin, can you hear us? You can. Okay.
Yay. Hi, Kevin.
Can we hear him?
Kevin, we cannot hear you.
And we can't read lips very well.
No, not very well at all. You have
But
to
they can
really
hear-
move your mouth
But
slowly.
they can hear each other, it sounds like.
It sounds like, yeah, we need to turn the speakers on here.
Very well.
Did you say try again?
Kevin, can you say something? No, still hear him. Three words.
I know. I was like, what's
The
that?
first
This
word.
sounds like.
It's gonna be a long.
Three words smells like.
This is
Well,
smells like, right?
Yeah. I'm just worried that, because he'll have to vote, right?
Right.
And,
Yeah.
oh,
Kevin.
How about now? Can you guys?
okay.
Hey.
Maybe a little bit louder.
Better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote.
So roll call vote to say that we're present. Anita Mecklenburg here.
Kevin Calcutt here.
Excellent. And now I'm going to entertain a motion to put us into executive session. Kevin, do you want to do that or do you want me to do it?
If you have it in front of you, Anita, that would be much appreciated.
I have it in front of me, but you owe me. He's not smiling. I move that the board enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy and obtain advice of counsel with respect to litigation entitled Wall Street Development Corporation versus the Town of Norfolk Planning Board et al., Norfolk Superior Court, civil action number, a big number, 1882CV01140, insofar as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body, and invite the planning board, town council Peter Mello, Rich McCarthy, Blythe Robinson, and Amanda Johans to participate. The board will return to open session at the conclusion of the second executive session. Do I have a second, Kevin?
Second.
All in favor? Anita Mecklenburg, aye.
Kevin Calcutt, aye.
Thank you.
There's just a statement that you read, it says chair says states of the public meeting will have a detrimental effect.
Okay, the chair states that a public meeting will have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body.
And are you guys all set in session?
No,
No.
they're next.
Okay.
We're
good.
next.
Awesome.
Okay, so welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 5:30 PM. We don't really need to take a roll call vote because we are all here in person. We have John Weddleton, Gary Sullivan, Eric Diamond, and myself, Chad Peck. And Chris Montfort will not be joining us this evening. So I would like to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to General Law 30A 21A3 to discuss strategy and obtain advice of counsel with respect to the litigation entitled Wall Street Development versus the Town of Norfolk Planning Board et al., Norfolk Superior Court, Civil Action Number 1882CV01140, insofar as open meeting may have a detrimental effect to the litigation position of the public body. The planning board will not be resuming or returning to the open session. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second?
Okay, we will do a roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And Chad Peck votes aye.
So we just need to switch over to executive session by Zoom.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for your patience as we come back from our 2 executive sessions, and I'd like to start this evening by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And as usual, we'll start the evening with public comment for anybody who would like to share for up to 3 minutes. Please, I always liked it when Kevin said, wave your hand furiously, because it made me laugh every time. I don't think that's reflects well on my sense of humor, but anyway, do we have anybody interested in sharing for up to 3 minutes of public comment? I see nobody out there. All right. And so number 2 is to consider recognition of Norfolk's Gold Award recipient, Evelyn Sanford. Hi and welcome, Evelyn.
Thank you.
We have a proclamation for you that I would like to read, but before I do that, do you want to share with us about your project?
So my project.
I'm going to have you come to a microphone, sit in a fancy chair. Yes, come on.
There you go.
Hi, so I'm Evelyn Sanford. My project was called Crossing the Divide, and essentially I built a website and hosted multiple forums where I taught new voters and teenagers like essential skills for public engagement and involvement, such as active listening and like psychology behind politics and political ideals and such. So
That sounds fascinating.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
You think you can do that for our meetings once in a while too?
Be happy to.
We could use the fresh perspectives. So I'm going to read our proclamation for you. Whereas Evelyn Sanford is a resident of the town of Norfolk, and whereas Evelyn is a member of Norfolk's Girl Scout troop numbers 74743, joining in the first grade when her family moved to Norfolk, Evelyn earned her bronze award in 6th grade by raising money and organizing support with her troop to build a much-needed deck floor for the Gaga Pit at the Freeman Kennedy. Evelyn earned her silver award in 8th grade by encouraging children to read by holding book clubs at the library. Evelyn has now received the Gold Award, the highest honor of the Girl Scouts, and whereas Evelyn's Gold Award addressed the pressing need for positive engagement in civil discourse by promoting healthy conversations between young people, including new voters who have differing opinions. Through forums and events, she taught people how to actively listen, debate fairly, and use research from credible resources to help her peers engage in current event discussions. Evelyn's project created a safe space filled with learning opportunities to foster open and honest communication. And whereas Evelyn has held leadership positions and has earned several Summit Awards and safety pins primarily focused on community service, and the ideals of being a Gold Award recipient have a positive effect on the future of Evelyn, her family, friends, and acquaintances, and I would say community, though it's not on here. Now, therefore, we, the Norfolk Select Board, issue this proclamation to Evelyn in recognition of being an outstanding young leader and wish her the best of success in her future endeavors, and declare that July 10th, 2022 is Evelyn Sanford Day in the town of Norfolk. And we encourage all citizens of our community to congratulate and celebrate with Evelyn and her family on her achievements. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can I shake your hand?
Yep.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Phrasing it with
No, it's perfect.
1, 2, 3.
We've gotten news,
Thank you.
news for our website.
Thank you
So
very
we'll
much.
have the board sign that, and then I will make sure it's delivered to you for your,
Thank you.
you can display it in your room and,
And on July 10th, what do you have planned?
I don't know.
parents will have to.
Unfortunately, you still have to go to school, just so you know. Well, school's gonna be out, but yeah, outside of that, but it's not a national holiday. Everybody's got to go to work still.
Parade.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
So thank you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll call you.
Okay, thanks, Amanda.
Have a good evening. Thanks.
Well, that was fun.
We try to start off with something.
It's awesome. And so for our agenda number item 3 is please consider the joint appointment of Melissa Mayo as Planning Board Associate Member. And I believe Melissa is here to talk to us. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest?
So I moved to Norfolk about 5 years ago, my husband and I and our little girl. So we moved here to raise our family here. And at the time, I was many, many years into my corporate career and decided to leave the corporate world and focus more on kind of doing things that I was more passionate about. And I wanted to spend more time with my daughter as well, versus, traveling all of the time like I was in the corporate world. So I changed my career completely, and now I have a home design business and also purchase my own properties that I remodel and then sell. So about 2 years ago, I took on a role as the president of the HOA in my neighborhood, and I was working with Rich a little bit and getting to know about the different town committees here and how things work.
Hold on.
Wait, you're muted.
We lost you.
Of all of the the town meetings that are recorded and then put on YouTube through NCTV, and I found that there were 2 meetings in particular, 2 committee, the board and a meeting, that seemed super interesting to me. One was the planning board, and one was the B1 district committee. But at the time, because I was already on the HOA for my neighborhood, it was just not the right timing. And somebody reached out to me and told me that this position was open again. And I was like, okay, so now my term is almost up on my HOA. I'm looking for the next thing that interests me. Planning board is definitely one of those things. And it aligns, very well with my interests and what I do for work as well. So I figured since my term will be ending shortly for my HOA duties, and this is perfectly timed, now would be the time to step forward and come to the planning board and come to you guys for approval. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions about my career or interests or anything else that you want to ask me. But I know half of the people here probably heard my spiel last time, so I'm just trying to keep it a little bit short. I know you have a busy schedule.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, anybody that can go through watching planning board meetings and designate them as interesting deserves to be an associate member.
I agree. I agree. I'll entertain a motion.
I'm having a terrible time navigating the packet tonight.
All the way in front, like very, very front?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Finally, there we go. I move that the board vote to appoint Melissa Mayo as an associate member to the planning board with a term ending on June 30th, 2023.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Congratulations, Melissa.
Congratulations, and thank you for your service to the town.
Thank you.
Item number 4. Please consider executing, there we go, a contract with Timothy Hines, Police Chief. Blythe, can you tell us more?
Yes, so following the board's ratification that he be named the next police chief, Scott Bragdon and I have been working to finalize a contract to bring before you for the board to consider. This contract document, the base document, is very similar to the other contracts that you sign, and was also the basis of the lieutenant contract he had that the board approved a year ago. Obviously, it's been updated to be police chief. It is for 3 years. It would start in early September when Chief Stone retires and go through the September 30th of 2025. The other salient points is we did negotiate a starting salary of $70 an hour. We did some work to understand what area towns are paying and what the market is for that job. And that falls, it's about 3/4 the way up the pay scale that we have for that job, that grade, police chief. But I think it also takes into account what other chiefs are making these days, and the fact that while Tim is going to be new to being chief, he's been with the town for 30 years and possesses experience that is very relevant. The other benefits in his contract are fairly closely aligned to what he already had. For instance, he would receive the same educational incentives he does now for having a bachelor's degree, same amount of vacation, sick time, all those sorts of things. Things like being able to go to conferences and longevity payments are in here as they were in Chief Stone's contract, but they are less because he's newer and not been with the town quite as long. So I'm happy to go into any details that you might want to know about. Answer any questions that you have.
I don't have any. Kevin, do you have any questions?
We talked about this contract in pretty good detail over the course of the last few weeks. I think I'm pretty good as well.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll do this one. I move that the board vote to ratify a contract with Timothy Hines for police chief effective September 22 through September 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, consider appointment of Todd Lindmark as interim town administrator.
So with my departure at the end of the month, it's important to have somebody who will keep the rudder, as you said yesterday on the phone, straight. And Todd has performed that role before I arrived, successfully as I recall. And so he's graciously said he's willing to do that again for, I'm not sure what the length of time will be. Oh, yes, you did. See, I got a smile. I don't always get a smile. But no, with all seriousness, I have confidence that Todd will be able to do that work, supported by the folks in his office and by Amanda and Judith. And so what I would leave to the board is whatever negotiations you have salary-wise and benefits with Todd is up to you. And that's why we scripted the motion as you recommended.
I think that seems great. Do you have any questions?
No.
Do you have anything you want to say, sir?
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your hand on the till. I think it's a till and the rudder are different things, but my husband would be mad that I don't know the difference. Maybe they are the same thing. I move, it's your up.
It is. I move that the board vote to appoint Todd Lindmark as interim town administrator effective July 1st, 2022, subject to salary negotiations.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Number 6 is considering dissolving the town government study committee.
So, as you know from the item that will come up after this, it's the time of year that we do appointments, and for a long time now, this town government study committee has had a bit of a struggle with membership. If you recall, a year ago, they asked to change it from 7 members to 5, and they had 3 members at the time. They were not able to find any new members, and one of the members who'd been the chair has really not been able to serve. So it seemed, and they haven't really had a mission or a cause or a project to work on. And I don't really know whether those came from the select board in the past or however those came to be, but so you reached out to the chair. I reached out to the other 2 members and said, hey, it feels like it's time to disband this committee, with the understanding it certainly can come back anytime the board would want to seat one again if there's a reason. So I heard back from another member, and there's an email in your packet saying, yep, it's time. So it's up to the board whether you would like to do that or keep it in place.
Absolutely. I did have a lengthy conversation with Jonathan and thanked him for his service on that committee. And we talked quite a bit about it, and he definitely recommended that it be dissolved with the idea that if there was a need that arose from the town, that we could always bring it back, resuscitated. So he supported that decision fully. Do you have any questions or comments?
None.
I'll take this one. I move that the board vote to disband the Town Government Study Committee and thank them for their contributions to the town.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So with that comes your very lively colored spreadsheet from Judith about reappointments. And she has done her usual process to check in with everybody about who's currently serving, who would like to be reappointed or not. And the overall message tonight is that the items in yellow are ones, if you want to reappoint for this next term, whichever each are. There are some exceptions. For example, one of the Council on Aging members is, I was going to tell you later, our new COA director. And it appears we may be losing a Fire Station Building Committee member. And so on. So there are, obviously, we'd like to nail these all down the first meeting in June, but it's not always possible. And with myself leaving and with Scott leaving, there's going to be some vacancies to fill, for instance, municipal hearing officer, ADA coordinator. So we'll continue this process to resolve those and update our ask out there on the website to announce what's open and what we're seeking volunteers for.
Excellent. Do you have any questions? We can take a minute.
Yeah, it's a long list.
Minutes.
No, I'm good. I greatly appreciate the rainbow colored
Yes, absolutely.
guide. It's very helpful. Anything else that you wanted to add before I make a motion?
No, I think I'm good.
I move that the board vote to make the appointments to committees for the period beginning July 1st, 2022, all those persons highlighted in yellow on the appointments spreadsheet.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so then number 8, it says, please consider approving the submission of a special act to the legislature for the formation of the Norfolk Town Sewer District.
So at town meeting, we re-voted this actual language and accepted the map. And we did so because State Senate Council said, 12-year-old, special act, like to see that voted again. In double checking with town council about the process to submit it, he also strongly recommended that the board do tonight what's on your agenda, which is to vote to actually take that special legislation and submit it. So that's why the motion is scripted that way. It's simply procedural to assure the state rep and senator that this is truly the intent of the town. And I've already had conversations with Senator Roush's office and her chief of staff that this is a super high priority for us to get this entered, soon before the session ends. We'd like to see it approved tomorrow, if not the day before yesterday, but as soon as possible. We need her help to get that sorted.
Excellent. Do you have any questions, Kevin?
No questions.
I don't have any questions either. I've lost track. Is it my turn? I move that the board vote to submit a special act to the legislature for the formation of the Norfolk Downtown Sewer District.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 9, please consider defining the maximum useful life of departmental equipment approved to finance at the November 9th, 2021 town meeting.
So these were the 3 items that were approved as part of the capital borrowing last fall, the fire department tanker truck, the salt shed, and the DPW snowplow truck. bond counsel came back and said we needed to take a couple of steps before we could place that debt, and that included the board voting a motion to determine the maximum useful life of the equipment, which is determined to be 20 years. We certainly hope they all last longer than 20 years, but it's a procedural matter. So there is a replacement motion. I got my connections crossed with Amanda about the actual motion, so we have updated today to what matches what's in your packet as what has to go back to bond counsel. So not much more I can tell you about it. Unless Todd
No,
wants to.
it seems rather procedural, like it's
Yeah.
a procedural item. So the motion is where it says voted?
Yep. Down through DPW snowplow truck, 220,000, 20 years.
Oh, this one's yours.
You're going to get me back for that one other video earlier.
Technically, she did the
Well
last one.
played. Well played.
And she's the chair.
I move that the maximum useful life of the departmental equipment listed below to be financed with the proceeds of the $980,000 borrowing authorized by the vote of the town passed November 9th, 2021, Article 3, is hereby determined pursuant to GL Chapter 44, subsection 7-1, to be as follows. Fire Department tanker truck, $450,000 over 20 years. DPW salt shed, $310,000, 20 years. DPW snowplow truck, $220,000, 20 years.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Well done. Please consider the Select Board FY Fiscal Year 23 meeting schedule. I'm going to give that to you, Blythe.
So every year, a board should set its schedule for the year, and so in your packet is a year calendars showing the first and third Tuesday of the month, which has been the board's practice. So somewhat assuming that you're going to stay with that practice, but maybe more importantly in the near term, what would your plans be for the summer, assuming that I'm guessing you don't really want to meet on July 5th? Because there is going to be a fair amount of business in front of you, and other boards, Affordable Housing, Fire Station Building Committee kind of need to know when they can come see you. So hopefully that's something you're...
So I would like to propose, and I can be flexible. I suppose my daughter's getting married on July 24th.
So we'll not do that date.
So, but I'm thinking even the 19th is kind of pushing. Could we split the difference in July and do the 12th? I don't know if that works for people.
It's really up to both of you.
That would be better for me. The 19th, the dust will be flying.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
That would be great. So we'll meet not on the 5th, not on the 19th, but we'll meet on the 12th of July. And maybe that could be our only July, or do we need to?
Well, you may need to have an extra meeting in terms of your process to hire a town administrator. I don't know what that looks like. But I mean, I know it will be helpful. Say the Fire Station Building Committee needs to come back for the design development phase. So the 12th will be helpful.
I would hope we'll be in a position by the 12th to talk about that on the 12th, to talk about, hopefully we'll be in a place where the 12th will be a good date for that as well. And then August, do you have any feelings about August?
This happens every time. I say yes, that day will work.
And then you're on vacation.
And I'm like, you moron, we're going to be somewhere. So I would say that just looking at the gap, August 16th looks pretty good.
August 2nd looks fine with me. August 16th looks fine with me.
And you can always add a meeting later.
Yep.
Okay. And then,
So
August
that
6th.
was the 2nd and the 16th, you're good with?
Oh,
Or
did you
just
want
the
2 meetings in August?
no.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
all right, so just the 16th. Okay, no, I just wanted to
You might end up having 2 meetings in August.
right.
We might
but-
we might indeed end up having 2 meetings in August, but we'll start with the 16th for now.
Okay.
We'll start with just the 16th. And then in September, we'll go back to 2 meetings a month. On the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday.
Yep.
That seems fine with me. That seems fine with me.
So I didn't fill in the dates because I didn't know which we'd pick, but someone wants to make that motion.
All right, I'll do that.
And the 6th, so, just so you're aware, September 6th is the day after Labor Day.
Right, which will be my first day of school, but I can walk on water, I think. So I move that the board set the following meeting dates for FY '23 as the first and third Tuesdays of each month, with the exception of July, August, when the board will meet on July 12th and on August 16th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 11, please consider the following requests for the use of Town Hill. Blythe?
So there were 3 that were on the agenda, but I understand today that the Community League event that they don't want to go forward with, so it's just the recreation end of summer events and the Girl Scout kickoff. Amanda has done the usual job of checking with all the departments and coordinating the calendar, and there are no issues with these groups or any of the departments, so we would recommend you approve just those 2.
Excellent.
Just as a side question, is there a generally accessible outline of everything that's booked for Town Hill somewhere?
So the new website will have a town events calendar. It'll have 5 calendars on it, and one of them will be anything that's happening on Town Hill and any other events that are town-oriented or use of town property. Like we generally want to advertise our own events because it's the town's website, but our exception is if someone is renting Town Hill, then we'll put that on there so people who are interested in something happening on a town property know about it.
Yep, great.
And if you wanted to use Town Hill, you could check and see if it's available.
One of the things we're going to be doing is forms so people can apply, upload their documents, it's very labor intensive right now. And part of doing this is streamlining all that so we can just do it more efficiently and people can find it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Just a note, it is on the current website. If you go into, there's a calendar. Once you guys approve them, I do put them out there. So
Yeah.
those are there now if you wanted to.
Gotcha, thank you.
These aren't on there, obviously.
Yeah. They'll be easier to find, we
Yes.
promise.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good.
Feels wrong approving an end of summer event when I don't even
It
feel
does.
like we've started summer yet.
It does. Though we've had such a glorious springtime.
Well, we've already approved the Santa parade. If it makes you feel any better, it's not really indicative of,
It's not as doom and gloomy as end
No.
of summer events though.
You're really good at planning ahead.
Yeah, there we go.
going to be a great event they're planning so far.
Mostly I think we're in denial that summer ends, and
Right.
that's the deal.
So I think this one's me. I move that the board approve the recreation end of summer events on August 27th and the Girl Scouts kickoff on September 7th with rain dates for each the next night after their events if needed.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. And number 12 is the ARPA funds. Blythe?
Yes, so it seemed like it was important to bring forward some ideas about this to bat around. We haven't done that yet. I'm glad we didn't, out of the gate, run around and try and plan this back when ARPA was first announced, because guess what? The final rule came out and it was different. I think that was helpful. But it really is time to get your input, and so with some help from Todd and Blair's on the call, and other department heads, we put together some ideas and a recommended path. And tonight, what we're asking for is your input. Do you like this path? Do you envision a different path? So that, I can hand this off to Todd and others to make this happen. And so there's a memo in here that kind of gives you the overview and the projects that we're recommending. What I would say is that overall, the town's going to get just over $3,517,000. About a third of it comes directly to the town. 2/3 comes through the county. There's this thing called the revenue replacement rule that very quickly, basically the federal government made a decision that any entity getting money could basically say if they had losses under up to $10 million, they could just spend that up to that amount on any governmental purpose. It made it a lot easier for especially smaller communities to not have to make sure that things fell into a certain bucket like sewer or broadband. And so for us on the spreadsheet, that works out to just under $1.5 million that we can use that way, and the balance of the money coming from the county that's, when you carve out the revenue replacement is just over $2 million. There's a number of ways you can spend the money where there are categories: water, sewer, stormwater, broadband access are key ones. There's also, you can use the money to deal with the economic impacts of the pandemic on businesses, on people who are, struggling financially. You can give monies to, essential workers. I took an approach with this that this is money that doesn't come along every day, so let's spend it in ways that move the community forward or are really hard for us to do on our own, because we just don't, this is money that we don't see in this large sum very often, with a couple of exceptions. If you turn to the spreadsheet, the items highlighted in yellow are things that have come up since ARPA came out that we chose to or needed to deal with. For instance, Engine 2 needed engine replacement, and we didn't have $20,000, and it fell in between town meetings, and so we targeted that. We chose to do the website. We had hoped to spend CARES money on our technology last fall, and guess what? You couldn't buy any computers or switches or anything, and we weren't able to do it, and we didn't do it at town meeting because we thought we would do it another way, and it fell through the cracks. So it's a small amount of all the money that we've spent, but I wanted to make sure you knew about it. So the other projects fall into things that are hard for us to do on our own. The COA parking lot, it's too small. It's been too small for a very long time. We got money to move it forward in design, and that's happening. Can get it over the finish line with other funds. The roads, to me, we struggle so much with trying to get moved forward. We're spending $600,000 and $800,000 the last 2 years, and guess what? We're losing ground. That was a way to really move forward, but you might not be comfortable with that. I think the other thing that's important about all this is how we have to commit the money by 24 and spend it by 26. And so there's every community, I think, in the country is struggling. Can they find engineers to do all the work? Is there enough people doing construction? Can you get the stuff even if you had the construction company to get something done? Is a challenge, and that kind of informs what's possible. So the other things that we put on the town side were our share of the Metacomet Health Alliance. Public health is something that we're real proud of, that we've gotten that to a better place, and we do have a small share in that over the 3 years. So a portion of the funds went to there, and then we get to the projects that are much bigger and are focused more in water, stormwater, and sewer. So on the list is moving the sewer district forward to a point where you'd be ready, shovel ready, to decide the town wants to build this second plant. It's a cat, mouse, chicken, egg situation. We've spent, how much would you say we've spent on the sewer district so far? The $100,000 that we got from the Senator Roush's earmark? That got us perk tests that worked. Now we need to decide, we want to go forward, we don't want to go forward. It's actually $800,000. I've only got 770 here. You can play with the numbers a little bit, but suggesting if that's what you want to do, making a serious investment in that to try to get it to that next place. As you know from the budget, stormwater, we committed money that 256 you see, I need to apply to the county to get that. And we're estimating that, the next years, there's going to be still ongoing costs. So that's in here. Seekonk Street Culvert is a wickedly expensive project. It desperately needs to be replaced. It's probably $1.4 million all told.
I know.
We've spent $130,000 or so. I'm getting a nod from Blair. Of money we had from the gas company when Seekonk Street got dug up, to advance that design to 25%. And DPW is about to apply for the culvert grant again this year to try to get that replaced. And it's complicated. It's not just the culvert, it's water line, main, it's the gas main that goes over it, it's wetlands, I'm sure Blair could talk all night about it. What we're suggesting here is, maybe a best play with the state is, look, we really would like you to give us $1 million, but we know that you only have a certain amount of funds yourself. If we putting forth some money from ARPA funds in two different buckets here of $550, maybe we can get the other $900,000 or so from them. It's a guess. I can't promise that. And then lastly, we just we just cut the ribbon, if you will, on the third well field, but it's only a redundant source. And you can see the growth that's coming in the town, and we will not be able to draw more water just because we could. So it's really, unfortunately, it takes 5 to 10 years to get a water source permitted and online. So do you spend $500,000 and you'd still need a bit more to get all the permitting done to be ready to build it? The town has already done some work to identify other possible sources, including Mill River. Maybe it's the time to, to sit down with Franklin and find a solution and spend the money to be ready to go have it be shovel ready, also for an infrastructure grant or borrowing from the Water Enterprise Fund to pay for it. But asking the ratepayers to pay that seed money, is a choice. Doesn't have to come from you. You could choose a different project. So those are the ones I'm throwing out there. And like I said, I'm not looking for a decision, especially since Cece isn't here, but wanted to get your feeling, or maybe you really want to go in a different direction that I'm just, we're not aware of. And we wanted to understand that because it's going to be work for Todd and Blair and, Rich McCarthy and all to make any of these things happen. And they should, we should get going on it soon. But, we've been busy this spring, so it's taken a little longer than I would have liked to get to this point. So open to questions and feedback. And Todd, especially if you have any other thoughts on it.
As you indicated.
Come on up, sir.
Should say no.
Huh?
Should have said no, I'm all good. No, as Blake mentioned, she ran through a bunch of the different projects. Obviously, a lot of those projects are subject to figuring out, priority, what do we want to do. This is a plan that's put forward. Subject to change at any time, considering, if we identify that the boiler here needs to be replaced. Maybe that takes priority over one of these other ones. I'm not saying that happens today, but as we go through this process. And like you said, this is what we're contemplating. There are other funding options available as well. There are other grants and other opportunities that we can look at as well, too. So tying all those pieces together, not going to get done tonight. So just a kind of an evolving plan, but here's the start of it. Subject to, obviously, you guys' final approval on how you want to proceed with this.
I think that would be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
That was going to be my next question. In terms of the execution of these, would it be subjected to a board vote on each individual submission where we would come forward and say, all right, look, we're finalizing this request. We think from a priority standpoint, this is the next one we want to submit. Let's put it before the board for a vote, and then it gets pushed through. Is that what we're envisioning as the process, or?
I don't think you need to do it project by project. We could come to you, you could give us feedback, we could tweak it, bring it back, and you could vote it and say, go forth and make this all happen. And tell us if something, if something comes up that you need to adjust, over the next period of time. But I mean, let's just we'll pick on the sewer and the well field project. If you said, yes, we want, those are high priorities for us, town needs to put together an RFP, because we can't just go hire the engineers we already have without going through a federally acceptable RFP process to end up hiring the same people we're already working with. Because in your packet are actually proposals from them, because that's what ARPA requires. And so, while I could have said, good luck, Todd, you figure this out, in July, I'm mindful of someone's got to do that work and put those things together, and 2026 will come quickly, when you're not looking. And so wanting to at least get going on whatever the path's going to be, so that, Blair can plan road work, or, we can get an engineer hired to work on the sewer plan, or, be able to commit to Seekonk Street and so on.
Gotcha.
So just my 2 cents in there. I like the path that you're taking in terms of anticipating things that the town is going to need anyway, and kind of getting ahead of some of those projects. I think that's good thinking. I'm wondering about, like, if I just said, what are the most looming things for the town? I know that one of them is stormwater. That's not the sort of exciting answer, but we have 2 building projects coming up that are going to have a big price tag. And is there any way this money could be used, or some of this money could be used to defray some of that impact on the town? For example, if the new wing on the Freeman is approved, there's going to need to be a playground for the preschool, if that's going to be there. Is that something in
the town's $1.5 million, that's we call revenue replacement? Sure, you could do that. I think what caution I would be is the timing is I keep mentioning, it's got to be committed by 24 and spent by 26. So the question back to the school is, will you have committed that and be able to be actually finishing the building of a playground?
That was just a random idea.
It's a good question, but
that could defray the cost, right? Something that could bring the price tag down for the town as well.
Absolutely could. And I think what you have to then kind of put through the checklist is, can I commit it by 24 and spend it by 26? And if I can't, then I need to think of a different project. Like we did put down here, after talking to Matt Hafner and the Energy Committee Chair, was the town hall boiler is 23 years old. If it dies, no one's coming to work, And so they said, look, we really want to study what we need to do so we can figure out the right path. Could you put down 50 grand so we can get going on that? That's probably something we can get accomplished, and it's allowed. So you have to kind of put those lenses on it and figure out, if the Freeman Kennedy doesn't start until 24, you might be at the end going, oh my goodness, I can't even commit to it because I can't know I can do it.
And also keep in mind, the 2 pools of money, our pool and the county's pool. County's pool requires a lot more hurdles to go through. Kevin's aware of that. But it requires us to actually apply and get approval from them prior to us even moving forward.
Yeah.
Because we might apply for it and they'd say, no, we don't agree with how you're.
Yeah, like on my list to do this week is to make the first application for that 256 for stormwater and get that approved so that he knows that that revenue is coming in to pay for that work when it starts in July.
The feedback has been that it's been a fairly easy-to-use portal that's been yielding pretty positive results for the towns that have engaged in it up until this point, but it does have to go through a couple of compliance checks, and Todd's right, it could get bounced back to us as not being compliant from their view.
Yep. So, like I said, I'm just looking for if there was a direction you wanted to go that we didn't consider, just want to hear that so we can come back to you. I scanned through the capital budget when I kind of put this together, and I thought, okay, yeah, well, we really need a loader, but does that make a difference? Yes, it's important, but and I mean, there was a fire truck on this list. Engine 2 is now spent, it cost us 40 grand in the last couple of years to keep that baby on the road, and it should probably be replaced, but as Todd pointed out, and I took it off the list because he pointed out, hey, we have a warranty on it. It's supposed to last for 2 years. Let's spend it on something else. It came off the list.
So I think it's good food for thought. We should definitely discuss it again with the full board here, and that I would encourage anybody watching to take a look and reach out with public comment if you have ideas on that money as well. I know there's always after-the-fact ideas about it, but before-the-fact ideas would be useful, so I don't know if before-the-fact is a thing, but anyway, so I'd love for feedback from other people, and I guess my only question is, are there ways that we could elegantly look at those timelines and see that if we could defray the costs of these two big projects for the town would be something that I would want to consider.
Sure. I mean, if the fire station stayed on this track it's on and it passed in January, that is one where you could say, I'm not going to spend it on roads the second year, or I'm going to figure out a different way to do stormwater in the other 2 years, and I'm going to do that. Does it, in a project of that expense, does that make a difference that you're comfortable with or not? I would leave to you to decide.
Kevin?
Or just high level, I mean, this is exactly what we were asking for. So thank you for outlining the priorities from your perspective and identifying where you think the best use of these types of funds are. I also would be interested to hear what the general public's thoughts might be on ways that we could effectively use these funds. So I look forward to the floodgates that you just opened up by inviting everybody.
The floodgates are open, and there is a public comment period at the beginning of every board meeting where people get 3 whole minutes to share their thinking, and we are listening. A lot of people are going to hear that. Because that is interesting to me, because they might have ideas that we haven't considered as well. Of course, there might be permitting for the floodgates to open. We might need an RFP before we can open them up.
Point taken.
Anyway, all right. So thank you for sharing that. And
So we'll put it on the next agenda.
I think we should. Well, we'll have a full board, and then we'll have to allot time for the copious public comment section that we're going to have.
Well, you don't just have to wait for public comment. You can send them in.
They could
ahead of
email.
time
They
if they
could
wanted
email
to.
us if they wanted to as well. We can absolutely entertain that kind of feedback as well. So we're up to number 13 that says, please discuss third quarter fiscal 22 financial reports, general fund revenues and expenditures, and the transfer station.
Well, I'm going to push that one right over to the finance director since he put the report together. He
Yeah,
knows
he's
it
sitting in the
intimately.
chair.
He's sitting in the chair. I take advantage.
So overall revenues and expenditures, you obviously have the full report that I provided to you. Total revenues for the year to date as of March 31st, 77.19%, for a total of $34,583,000. We have total expenditures, including all of our debt, of $33,547. So we're actually showing an excess of about a little over $1 million. Including a transfer in of 36, brings us to about $1.07 million as available for potentially free cash. We're not there yet. We have to finish out the year, but a lot of the expenses, the revenues pretty much are in line with a lot of the items. Included in there up are some items including permit fees, meals, taxes are up as well. Not huge, but up, which is positive for the environment for us. And we're on track with all the other revenues that we've kind of anticipated. Ambulance receipts, other revenues from the departments, and then the state funds that are coming in. So we're on track there. Expenditures, again, on track there. Debt service, a lot of the debt we have to pay just based on the schedule. It's usually a little bit in advance prior to the year end. So that's why it's going to show a little bit higher of a percentage there, close to the 100%. And then benefits, we, kind of pre-fund retirement, which is our biggest contributing dollar amount. So we pay on July 1 the full amount, which we did our discount for that payment instead of breaking it up into 2 payments throughout the year. So we get take advantage of that, but that's included in the numbers there as well. But overall, we're on track with about 75% in total for our expenditures. So, looks pretty good for town of Norfolk, plain vanilla. Then going to the comparative, year over year, just for the revenues, left-hand side is 2021, right-hand side is 2022, actual projected, and the differences therefore. Again, you can kind of stream down some of the items, and again, like I said, a couple of the items that I talked about, meals taxes are up almost 28,000.
And that's through March.
No, that's only through February.
Right, February, you're right.
So they give us the taxes a month before. So when I do my 331, I don't have March in there. That'll be included, when I do the end of year true up for you guys, it won't include June because it'll only be through May. They're just like a month behind on providing us the receipts. But again, everything is pretty much in line with what we anticipated. Nothing glaring to say we have a problem or an issue to address. So I'm pretty confident in how the numbers will play out for the end of the year.
Excellent. Any questions?
Yeah, so first, and I'm hoping I'm not this guy and then answers me in an annoyed fashion, but for your comparative page, you have for 2022, the first column is the budget.
Yes,
The second column is actual through Q3.
correct.
The third column is your forecast, where you'd be making a change to the end of year based on performance up to this point.
So in the first third column,
He did the thing. He took a breath and
Yeah.
looked up and then he
Yeah.
answered.
He's consistent. That's comforting.
so where it says actual 2021, that's the full year?
Yep.
And then the difference is between actual and what we budgeted total.
But in the second, third column?
So same thing, again, what we wait to end the year at, if that makes sense.
Got it. So in this view, you're anticipating we're going to end the year right at budget.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
But we most likely won't because revenues are a little bit higher.
Like we didn't budget all of prison mitigation, if you go down to miscellaneous, which is just middle of the page, and we had a tax lien sale, and actually one of them hasn't even closed yet, so it's way over. I mean, so we're going to be to the good by, right now, as of March, 262, it's probably higher. Might be 462 when that one closes, which will help us replenish the free cash we spent last fall and be able to your point, make some more moves on projects and stuff again this fall.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that what I was looking for was, based on what we're seeing through actuals in Q3, do we have a forecast through end of year that would anticipate how much we're going to be up come the end of June?
On the original sheet where it shows revenues and expenses in total,
So
He's
this
saying you're going to be $1
shows-
million over.
so this is just revenues. The comparative is just revenues, it's not expenses. There's
Yep.
no expenses, so it's just revenues.
Mhm.
So it's just comparing last year's revenues versus this year's.
Yep.
In the overall grand picture, grand scheme of things, we're projected right now to have about $1 million surplus based on revenues and expenditures through 3/31.
But things will, there's still payments to be made at the end of the year. If someone didn't get their grant revenue back from the state in time and it's a free cash hit, Todd has to account for those sorts of things. So I wouldn't take this piece of the paper to the bank and try and deposit it, but
Correct.
it tells you you're in very good shape.
So that 1.071 million that you're showing in excess on this first page, that's not just through Q3. That's your anticipated through the end of the fiscal year.
That's as of 3/31.
Okay.
And like I said, a lot of the expenses have already been paid for. We have revenue, another quarter of revenues that have to be accounted for. So hopefully it goes up a little bit more because we don't have as many expenses in the last quarter. Because we pre-funded a lot of the expenses, the debt, the employee benefits, some of the recurring expenses such as service contracts, things of that sort. You fund those in July for the year. So those are paid up, if that makes sense.
I mean, the only thing that jumps out for me that will be something the town will deal with later is because we were not able to, we settled the clerical contract, but it went to arbitration. That isn't even being heard until July, so all those people who are in that union never got a pay increase for this current year. So that's part of the reason why we're under budget in expenses. A small, not a big part, but a part. And so come the fall, that's settled in the spring, in the summer, I'm sorry, you'll probably need to take some of the free cash and make sure you've paid, we'll pay those people. It looks good now, it will come back later.
And then to address your projected 2022 column, which is on the revenues. So last year, we had a change from what the budget amount was to what we were actually going to get from the state on a couple of items that we also then gave back to some of the schools and distributed out. So that did change my projected from the budget. So that could change if I have more information indicating that the projected amount is going to be more than what we budgeted for the revenues, if that makes sense.
You just don't have that yet.
Well, I'm not guaranteed anything to say
Right.
we're going to have
You
that.
shouldn't.
Right. Because it's a conversation that they're going to increase Chapter 70, but it's still just a conversation.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
I see now. So you need that to be able to provide the comparative against the actual 21?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. I thought what you were highlighting was budget and actual and a forecast, where you'd be updating the third column based on any trends that you'd be seeing throughout the first 3 quarters of the year to be able to project.
If I knew what they were and they were absolute, yes, I would. And that's what I did last year with the state funds.
Gotcha.
And we also try very hard not to increase, just because we're having a great year this year and last year, we're still trying to stay as conservative as we can with local receipts because, you have a pandemic and they can be affected. And if you understate them, that's an excellent way to try to build up your free cash to deal with the other things you need to do, which for us is mostly, that's the only way we have to pay for capital items when they come up. I mean, it gives us an ability to deal with those things, or add to OPEB, or, whatever.
I just had one more question. You might have answered it already. I apologize. I was so hyper-focused on the formatting. For other revenue on page 1, it was budgeted at 470, actualized through Q3 at 666. What do you attribute to the big spike?
The prison mitigation, the tax lien, the foreclosure
So
sales.
foreclosure sales are included in there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
One that had 200,000. So it'd be really sweet if that closed by the end of the year.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then with the transfer station, it looks like we're less and less in the red.
Yes.
Yes.
But there's also less participation in terms of revenue.
Well, so we sell memberships and decals,
Yes.
whatever you want to call them, in
Yes.
this month. So.
We buy one.
Excellent, thank you. So that is, that's a revenue that comes in late in the year. And actually, I should, to be transparent, we caught very late, or Todd caught very late, that this shows through December 31st, and it's supposed to be a 3/4 report.
So it's technically should be March 31st for just the
Yeah,
title.
so the deficit is a
Just the
little.
label, right? Not the date.
Yeah,
Okay.
the deficit is actually 41, not 27, but I expect that, I'm hoping that will be caught up a bit in the fourth quarter, because, like I said, that's when we have a large increase in revenue
Revenues, yeah.
because of decal sales, so.
And
But
again-
overall, compared to last year, we're still improving and closing the gap, so.
With
And
the-
no increase in rates next year.
With the goal of being in the black at some point.
Well, so when we set this up, and when we budget amount, so we have revenues and we have expenses, and we anticipate X dollars for revenues coming from the transfer station, we put in our budget for expenses. It's by design set up with a deficit, and unfortunately, the expenses are just more than what we have for revenues, but that's a benefit to give to the town, but that's how it's designed. But obviously, if we can bring that gap down as much as possible, to get close to black, that's what we're really striving for. If we get to black, fantastic, but it's not how it's really kind of set up. But ultimately, we're trying to get there year after year. So each year, we're making progress towards that goal, yes.
I think
you
the
can
key is
see
that
that.
we're not we changed the rates 2 years ago, and we're continuing towards that. I think Blair said to me last week, don't hope you're going to get a rental of a dumpster anytime soon, because they're like spoken for. So, anything
We
you
have
want
a
to say?
record number of rentals out as we speak.
So,
Cool.
yeah, it's cool.
Excellent. I don't have any other questions. Do you, Kevin?
No, great story. Thank you.
It's a great story. So I was gonna say we can end the way we started, but we're not at the end yet, are we?
You're getting close.
We're not at the end. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for your work on that. Town Administrator updates, number 14.
Just a couple of things. Got the news about the opioid settlement. It came out in an email. Our number is $187,758 between 2022 and 2038. So, yeah, it's a bit of a... I'll send you the email so you can look at it. Yep, it's a long time. The first payment is $21,115. So we'll be doing the paperwork to get that in, and it will be a decision for the town going forward how it wants to utilize those monies or whatever. I don't have any brilliant ideas. I'm just able to report that it's actually coming.
Here in town, we have an organization called the Safe Coalition
Yep.
that generally struggles to find funding for a lot of their programs. I wonder if we could explore being able to earmark some of that funding that we're getting on a recurring basis to be able to support them in some way, shape, or form.
That's a super interesting idea.
Yeah, it's something the town can look into. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you know, 2 days of training next week where Amanda and I spend lots of time on it right now, as a number of people are. Hoping to go live late next week, early the next week after. Really need some headshots of,
Certain
executive
people.
board.
process of getting new ones, that's why I didn't send it yet.
You know how easy it is to take one down and put one up?
I can't just use my phone, wife. I need a person in the background.
You must have.
And
Oh, come on.
well, I do, but it's, what is that supposed to say that like that? Like I'm some kind of glamour person that has it hanging up in my car or something.
No, because of your path right now.
Well,
Anyway.
that's why I'm getting it.
Anyway, we really like a headshot from each of you.
Okay.
Understood.
I can change it if you.
And we will
Excellent.
promise to change it.
Got it.
Anyway, that's coming, and we're excited about it. COA appointment, we have made an appointment to Karen Edwards, who's been on the COA board, has a good amount of experience in social services. She works for the town of Natick right now in their COA. So super excited about that.
Excellent.
Yep, and she starts on the 21st.
Great.
And then remote meetings, I saw in the governor's, in the budget package that came out, there's a proposal to kick the can on remote meetings till the end of December 23.
That's lovely.
It is, I just wish the state would actually just change the rules and make them modern and just move on to something else in life, but
Yes, because there is certain, it has to increase our participation, and there gives us some flexibility like we needed today.
Right.
right, maybe, I was hopeful it would be done by now, but maybe that's what the plan is from now till the end of December.
May I ask a question that's unrelated or sort of quasi-related? The structure they were going to build at the Council on Aging, what is this?
pavilion?
The pavilion.
So that was funded with CPC funds, the town meeting vote. The $40,000 that the town got in a state earmark last year, part of that money and part of the pavilion money has gone into a design of the parking lot. I can email you that plan. So Sherry and Rich kind of together with Public Works, some support, coming up with that plan, and if that is, goes to the planning board and is signed off on, then it will need some changes. I think the lot lines need to be changed to accommodate the additional parking on one side, which thankfully we own that side because it's where the transfer station is. And we need to nail down whether the 150 I put in here in this ARPA plan is enough to build it. We did get word from Senator Roush's office that she does have 2 earmarks for Norfolk in the state budget. One of them is $25,000 for this project as well, so hopefully that's 175, and that will work out.
Excellent, thank you.
And so I think we've got to get the plan approved, and then the monies, I think, is ready to go forward with the pavilion part. We need to find the money for the parking lot part.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. That's it.
That's it. Then we'll move on to warrants. I can do that one. I move that the board approve 9 warrants for the period of May 10th, 2022 through June 3rd. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the last one, minutes.
I move that the board approve the regular meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2022, May 10th, 2022, and May 26th, 2022.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then, I'm impressed. I'm looking at the clock. This is
Pretty efficient, right there.
do you want to do the final motion?
I move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The
meeting is adjourned.
It's like upside down.
Thank